Hey, Southeast Missouri sports fans. Enjoy the show and want to take it on the go? You can find every episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or YouTube. Tune in as they air by searching SEMO Sports Zone wherever you may be listening. Welcome to the SEMO Sports Zone presented by A-Corp Sports. Today is Monday, January 27th. Dave, how are we doing today?
I'm healthy, unlike a lot of people around Southeast Missouri, apparently.
Not going to cancel anything?
I'm not canceling anything, but apparently there's a lot of sickness going around, and I don't want any part of it. So it's a lot of games canceled. Man, a lot of games canceled.
Yeah, past month, January for basketball has just been, all right, well, 1 week we're out because of snow, and the next week we're out because of sickness.
Yeah. Not, I don't like it, but let's get everybody healthy and let's get these games going because we've got some tournaments coming up here and some good basketball that we want to see this stuff.
Oh yeah, and for me, I don't want any of these games to look like flu games. Yeah. So I want everybody to be healthy just because I want some good competition out of it too.
Yeah, and I'm looking at games that are even happening, and I'm like, well, is there anybody sick in this game? Who's healthy? Who's not? Mm-hmm. And you don't really know. So it's kind of a let's just get past this and let's get everybody healthy, please.
Yeah, I think it's just pretty crazy, like hearing school after school after school saying, all right, we're just canceling sessions completely, and it's just like, how many kids do you have to have out to do that?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I remember I was talking to somebody the other day, and I'm like, maybe when I was in school, maybe once they canceled school because there's a lot of kids out with the flu or something, but very seldom do you hear that. And multiple schools, especially in the Boot Heel, just school after school, just canceling and it's not ideal for sure, but hopefully that by closing school, everybody kind of gets healthy. You stop passing it around, and we're back this week to full strength.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about some of the games that actually did happen. First up on my listing from Thursday, I've got Hayti and Delta 101-72.
Yeah, Hayti is just their Jimmys were a lot better than Delta's Joes, but just Hayti's got a really good team and a really young team there. They get up and down the floor. They put a lot of pressure on you. It's kind of the reverse of the Delta girls. That's kind of what the Delta girls like to do. So it's kind of I know the girls played first in that game, so kind of a reversal there. But yeah, it's just a really good basketball team, and they get up and down the floor and they're fun to watch.
Yeah, you want to talk about teams that just haven't missed a step. Like, I think Hayti is just consistent at this point. Like, they know what team they are and they're playing their brand of basketball and it's working out for them.
Yeah, and I like seeing them play. I tell you what, I want to see them play Campbell again. That game was fun the first time, and Hayti hit every shot, and I think Campbell's a pretty good team too. So I want to see those two teams play again.
Which I think the only way they're going to meet up again is in that county tournament at this point.
And it could very well happen. And so we'll see if that happens. I have no idea how that thing's going to get seeded out, but it's going to be a lot of fun. That tournament's going to be a lot of good teams. It's going to be a lot like the Stoddard County tournament. A lot of good teams and a lot of tough games.
Well, let's talk about Campbell really quick. South Pemiscot at Campbell ended that game 43-64.
Yeah, and I was talking to you a little bit before the pod. I don't know what to think of South Pem. I feel like I was too high on them early in the year. I think, not to take anything away from Campbell. I think they're a very good basketball team. Mm-hmm. I really do. I like what they've got a lot of shooters. They got a lot of guys that can score. I think they're getting better defensively game by game. I think they're a very good basketball team. I think I was a little high on South Pem though to start. I think I was, because they made the Final Four last year. I think I was a little bit high on them. But Campbell just took it to them and really kind of put them away early.
Yeah, and to your point, I think most of us were high on South Pemiscot because of that Final Four placement. At the same time, I don't think they're not performing bad. I don't
mean to say that.
It's so consistent. Like Campbell, Crothersville, Hayti, South Pemiscot. I feel like they're all just like 1A to 1D in that stretch. Depends on what team you get that week.
Exactly.
I think it says more to the Boot Heel Conference at this point than anything.
Yeah, I think to my point, I was just trying to, I thought South Penn was going to be like an elite team this year, and I just don't. They're just not at this point. They're a good team, but they're just not what I thought they might be. And I think I was just a little too high on them. I think I was just because of that Final Four.
Well, what do you think they're not doing to perform as an elite team right now?
They're just, I just offensively, I don't think that they are just there. And really they weren't last year as well. I mean, they weren't just a powerhouse offensive basketball team. And I think when they run into these teams that can really score, I'm like, you've really got to either shut them down or try to outscore them. And I don't think they can outscore these teams. I think it's one of those things where they're going to have to really defend them and guard them. And teams like Campbell are going to pose a problem because they can score, and you've got to be able to score with them. So, I think that's just kind of what I thought South Pemscott would be a little bit better offensively than they were last year. And I don't think they've made that jump enough offensively to be an elite team.
And I mean, credit to Campbell. I can't remember the name of the player, but I think he hit 6 threes in that game itself. So,
and that's the thing with those guys. I mean, they've got several guys who can hit threes. You got Fowler and a bunch of guys over there that can hit those shots and get to the rim as well. They're a very well-rounded team, and nobody was talking about them before the year really. And they're a team that just continues to win.
Yeah, and to this game, I mean, this score, it seems pretty lopsided. It was pretty much lopsided the entire game, too.
Yeah, Campbell jumped on them early and just never let up. And just South Penn just never could get back in the game. And credit to Campbell. I mean, that's a team that, smelled blood and just took it to them.
Yeah, and Campbell just keeps getting better and better.
They do. I've been impressed with them when I've seen them. Crothersville. I thought Crothersville and Campbell. That game was one of the better games of the year. Went to overtime, and Campbell just would not go away. They were down double digits in the second half, and they're just wouldn't go away. Just kept fighting, and that's a team that you do not want to play come district time. I promise you.
Any other games for Thursday you've listed down?
Not really. Charleston continued. They killed Fort Campbell. They won on Saturday and they won the consolation over there. Continue to play well. Nobody really sees them play over there in that Superman, but they won on Thursday 81-27 over a Fort Campbell team, and they just continue to improve and kind of fly under the radar. I think that with some people.
Back to Friday's games then. First game we got listed down, Zenith Hornersville at South Pem, 58-59.
Yeah, again, South Pem, was, like you said, 1A to 1D. There's a lot of teams down there that kind of are very similar, and I think these two teams are very similar. South Pem's probably a little bit better than what we thought coming into the season, but a very good game. South Pem was able to hold on and win this one, but a very good basketball game. I know a big block there at the end by Smith. Really nice game though for both teams. And when you come to district time, and especially your the Boot Hill tournament down there, you want to have these tough games, these close games. So you're used to winning them. I mean, we talk about some teams who just can't win the close games, and South Pem's one of those teams that really can win those close games. They've won several this year, and you want to win those type games because when you get in one that you're not you're a little more accustomed to them.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, Zenith lost to Crothersville by a pretty decent margin. But at the same time, I didn't expect this game to be as close as it was. Credit to Zenith at that point that you're playing South Pemscott that close. And, at this point, I mean, good for the Boot Hill that you're having so many competitive games.
Yeah, and I mean, and you don't really have that one team that's kind of stepping to the forefront, but at the same time, you got a lot of good competitive games, and you don't know, from night in, night out, these are all good games, and you don't know. A lot of it, I think, depends on matchups. Some teams match up better with others than they, and so seeding is going to be huge in that tournament down there, and it's just again matchups and just what how you come to play that night, and every team has got to bring their A game whenever they're playing these other games, because if you slip just a little bit, you find yourself down 15-20.
Exactly. Moving on, this was a weird one. Richland at Leopold, 51-13.
Well, first, in the last pod, we were saying, I said I wanted to see what Leopold was going to bring to that district, and I found that out. They're not bringing much. I mean, at least the way they showed on Friday night. I don't know, holding the ball for half a quarter down 8-0. I don't know. Coach Lincoln up there, he kind of does his own thing. Mm-hmm. He's been around, so he knows basketball, he knows his stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and question him. I don't know. There may have been a reason to do that. I'm not sure what that was, but it certainly didn't make for exciting basketball. Seeing some basketball I saw over the weekend, I'm ready for the shot clock. and get rid of some of this junk that's going on with just holding the ball and stuff. But I don't understand it. But hey, if you want to take a butt whooping, I mean, go ahead. I mean. And that's kind of what happened. I mean, you just kind of just took it, and I mean, had 2 points at halftime. I mean, it's not what you want.
No, and I mean, that was my first thought too when I heard 4 minutes of holding the ball in the first quarter is like bring a shot clock. Like that just seems ridiculous. And to me, I'm not the coach up there. I don't know what's going through your head at that point. I'm just an outsider looking in, but I just. What game? What does this serve?
Yeah, I have no idea. And if you're Richland, it's like go ahead. I mean, you just want to go ahead and take your lumps. Go ahead and do it. And Richland's clearly the better team. I mean, clearly, they'll be the top seed in that district. I mean, unless something crazy happens, and I think they'll be the heavy favorite to win that district. So, Leopold was kind of the one that I was like looking at as, maybe could make some noise, but I don't, after seeing this, I'm like, I don't know how you could have the confidence if you're Leopold to go in there and try to try to beat this Richland team. So, yeah, I think this kind of told us what we needed to know about Leopold, and honestly, on the Richland point of view, they just continue to play well. I mean, they guard very well, and I think they're getting better offensively. It's tough to see in this game when you only score 51, but at the same time, I mean, half a quarter just sitting there watching them hold the ball, and you're still able to score 51. So they obviously had no trouble scoring in this game, and I look for them to make a little noise in this Stoddard County tournament coming up.
Yeah, I think for Richland, I mean, it's a decisive win. You can say that for sure. Yeah. Is it a good win? Just because it's like, well, I mean, what do you learn from this game? Like, what do you take away? Like, how does that make you a better team winning 51-13 though?
I don't know. I think Richland probably comes away just as confused as anybody else. It's like, why are you doing this? I mean, if you're up 8-0 and you hold the ball, I mean, I understand that a little bit more than if you're down 8-0 and you just hold the ball. And I just don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know what's going on with it. And quite honestly, I mean that's their issue up there. If I'm Richland, I'm just like, look, well, obviously we're 38 points better. So because you still play the game. I mean, it's still. I mean, even though they held the ball for those. I mean, you still beat them 38. So I don't think that if I'm Richland, I go my way looking like, hey, this is a statement. People were up there in Leopold were talking about they might be able to come down here and win this game or come down here and win this district tournament. We're 38 points better right now. So,
hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Next game I have on the list is East Prairie at Doniphan, 86-61.
East Prairie, another team that's just kind of just doing their own thing. They had that tough game against Scott City, but Scott City's a really good team, and they just went into Doniphan and took care of the business. It's not an easy trip from East Prairie to Doniphan. That's a tough bus ride, and they were able to get over there and just take care of business and do their thing, and that's what you want to see if you're an East Prairie fan, and just continue to win these games you're supposed to win and rack up the wins and kind of look toward districts and see how you fare in districts. But I think them and Crothersville will probably be the top two in that district. And
safe to say.
I mean, I can't see anything changing my mind on that. And I think they'll be the have a chance to win a district tournament for the first time in school history.
Yeah, and I think for East Prairie in this game too, and it's not like Doniphan, a healthy Doniphan team isn't a slouch. I mean,
no.
So they played overtime against Van Buren in a very good game. So I think for East Prairie, like this is just a good win, good solid win that you not necessarily needed because the record's still positive, but it's a great good consistent win that helps you learn from what you're doing and show that your process is still working out for you.
Yeah, a good road win, and I tell you what, once you get them in an up-tempo game and you get them doing some of they get the rebound and they're running out and getting some easy layups and they get into kind of that flow. Once you get them in that flow, they are a tough team to stop. You really got to kind of do what Dexter did, kind of what Scott City did. You got to kind of slow them down a little bit and get them out of their game, make them a little uncomfortable. But if they're comfortable and they're flowing like this, they're going to put up some points.
Next game I have listed down is Twin Rivers at Neelyville. I have to ask the question, have we been overlooking Neelyville just because of their record?
Well, we said a few pods ago that they were the best 1-10 or 2-10, whatever it was, team around. I mean, they played a really tough schedule. They're not a bad team at all. I mean, their record does not show it. But again, they've had a really tough schedule. Now they're getting some games that they can win, and so they're starting to put up some wins, and that's a good win over. I mean, Twin Rivers is a pretty decent team. I mean, and I think Neelyville's a team that's just again had the tough luck of a schedule, but it's not a bad team at all.
No, and finished that game 38-53. So, I mean, it's not a close game at that point.
No, they kind of put that away. And good for Neelyville, because a lot of teams, whenever you have that tough schedule and you start falling behind, in your record and you're 1-10 or 2-10 or whatever it may be, kids can kind of check out and be like, oh, well, this season's lost. And Neelyville's not done that. They're picking up some wins, and so good for them. And they're trying to rebound here and get closer to that 500 mark.
Yeah, and I don't know how young their team is right now. I don't know what that consistency looks like. But, if you're taking a hard season this year, like a hard season, but at the same time, if we can talk about them and say they're the most impressive 5-10 team that we've seen around, take that for what it is next year and just try and build off of it.
Yeah, I'll be anxious to see how they match up in this Ozark Foothills Conference tournament. See how they match up in that, and see how that plays out for them. I mean, you would assume Puxco being new to the conference, they would probably be the favorite in that. But I think everybody else is kind of right there together. So I mean, it's they could get a few wins in that and make a little run, and all of a sudden their season that started out with a bad record, all of a sudden it starts looking pretty good.
I'm also looking at them whenever district starts rolling around, quiet now, but what might they be in Class 2, District 1?
Yeah, a team you probably don't want to play, just a team that could pose some problems and not come in with this great record, but a team that you definitely don't want to play. I could definitely see that for any of those teams in that district who face Neelyville. I don't think anybody wants to face them and see them in that first round game for sure.
Yeah, just an overlooked sleeper at this point. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Next game I have listed, this is the game we broadcasted on Incorp Sports. Cape Central Jackson ended that game 48-42.
Yeah, Cape Central got the best of three. So good for them. I mean, in Cape Central, they've settled into that spread the floor, penetrate, try to get, use our athleticism to get to the rim style of offense. They guard you very well. Boy, they just continue to get better defensively. That's a team that, I mean, they held Cold Deck to 9 points. I mean, that's impressive in itself. But just, Jackson, especially in the second half, I just didn't feel like they could get any kind of offense going because Cape Central was just smothering them with their defense. So good for them. And that's a team that, again, that's a team that's got Sykeston coming up in a couple of weeks. They'll have Sykeston in the districts probably as well. So, that defense is going to be tough for Sykeston to handle. I mean, that's a defense that's really going to get after you, and Sykeston's going to be able to get open.
Yeah, and I think for Jackson, it's one of its biggest detriments was its shooting at this point. A lot of missed shots this game, I would say. But Jackson in particular, they went 17 for 41.
And a good defense is going to do that. Yeah. They're going to force you to take shots that you don't normally take. They're going to force you to be quicker on your shots, and that causes a lot of missed shots. So I credit a lot of that just to the defense. And Cape Central, man, they really got after them.
Mm-hmm. And overall, I mean, these two teams were very consistent with each other too. It not played the same exact ball, but at the same time, like the way they played, it just kind of felt like so back and forth up and down the court. I wasn't expecting Jackson to play that up tempo either. And you wouldn't think it from the score of just like, well, it's nobody broke 50, so it couldn't have been that crazy. But athleticism, I mean, that brought a lot to it. If there weren't so many missed shots, then that score would have ramped up pretty fast.
Yeah, and I think Cape, or Jackson tried to push the tempo a little bit on Cape just because, Cape has just been very content to slow it down and not really push the tempo, which, I think they, with their athletes, they would be a tough team if they push the tempo. But he could, I mean, Coach Frazier could be right in this. And if you're going to beat a team like Sykeston, you're going to want to slow it down and spread the floor, spread out their defense. And that could be something that they're looking forward to down is districts against Farmington and Sykeston, something spread the floor, use your athleticism and get to the rim. So, it could be a very genius move by Coach Frazier. But I think Jackson pushing the tempo was smart.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I think the problem with Cape is that like there's not one shooter that I think is like, their guy, but at the same time, they've got a lot of people on the court that can just kind of sneak up on you. Once you get dunked on by number 3, I feel like it's just like when everything's just out the window for like, what's your plan?
Yeah, they need to get Goliath going inside a little bit more. I'd like to see him do a little bit more inside. And he had some big plays coming down the stretch. Maybe he builds off that, coming in. But I think they need his inside presence to give them just another big guy inside, just to kind of control the paint.
Yeah, no, completely agree. All right, moving on. Sykeston at Kennet ended that game 95-52.
Yeah, Sykeston was up 20 when I got off the bus, up 30 after warmups. It was, that was just what we expected. Yeah. I mean, they're just a lot better, and they just Sykeston's rolling right now. And they're kind of like East Prairie. You get them in an up tempo game and get them, playing their style. They're going to get up and down the floor and they're going to take care of business.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't a really surprising score. So for you're playing SEMO conference games, you kind of have to. Do these games help out Sykeston at all at this point?
No, I don't. That game didn't help out Sykeston. They played Gateway on Saturday and beat them 30. Those games, I just don't feel like those games in the grand scheme of things is really going to do anything. It gets a lot of guys involved. You can get some guys from the bench who practice and practice hard. They get in the game and get some time and stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't know how much you really get out of those games. But you got to play them. They're conference games, and sometimes it's like that. In other years, it's every conference game is just a complete battle. So it's just one of those years where this game I don't think you get a lot out of, and I don't think Kennet gets a lot out of this game. It's just one of those games you just got to play, get it off the schedule, and move on.
Yeah, and, lopsided years happen, ebbs and flows. It's what it is. Sykeston's going to be a different team next year than they are this year. So, good to learn now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and again, they played Gateway Legacy on Saturday, and I think they thought Gateway was going to be a little bit better than what they were, and they came in and they were very similar to Kennet. Sykeston hit, I think, 12 threes. I mean, it just kind of dominated early and really kind of put it on cruise control in the second half.
Any other games on Friday you were looking at?
Not really. That was pretty much my weekend of games. I mean, again, a lot of games were canceled and didn't happen. So we'll see when and if they're rescheduled. But just kind of a slower slate of games. Yeah,
and I mean that's just how it is this week.
Yeah, it's just one of those weeks.
And we'll talk about Stoward County after upcoming games, but let's talk about a few upcoming games in the area. First one I've got listed is Monday, Haytie at Zenith Hornersville.
Yeah, I'm anxious. Again, Boot Hill Conference. How do these two teams match up? I would think that Haytie would be the favorite in this game, but playing at Zenith, that's a whole different thing. So we'll see how they go down there and play and match up. And I would expect Haytie to come out of this game to win, but I think Zenith, the way we've seen them play, they're going to play it close, and so it ought to be a good game. Yeah,
and I just think the bundle of these teams at this point, what's my brain goes like, well, if Zenith beats Haytie, what's that do to power rankings? Because South Pembescot beat Haytie. If Zenith beats Haytie, then where does that put them? But they lost to South Pembescot by 1 point. So that's where my brain's at. But man, Boot Hill's so competitive this year.
Yeah, I'm just going to draw them out of a hat this week and just see where they fall. There's probably going to be a lot of shakeup after the first 3 or 4. I would think, and could be at the end of this week could be even more of a shakeup. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't know how I haven't even thought about my power rankings yet for our Wednesday show or Thursday show. I have no idea.
And then moving on to Tuesday, Zenith plays Campbell right after that. At Campbell, so I think.
Well, we're going to get a pretty good idea of Zenith after those 2 games.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, with them playing South Pem and then Haytie and Campbell, that's a tough, 3 games in 5 days, 6 days. That's a tough little stretch there for Zenith. We'll see how good they are. This is kind of their moment to let people know how good they are. So we'll find out.
Yeah, and as far as Boot Hill teams, that's one of them that we just haven't been talking about either.
Yeah, and again, there's going to be teams. There's a lot of teams that we focus on, or try to focus on, and just some teams are going to, kind of slide under the radar, and all of a sudden, hey, this team's probably pretty good. And we mentioned Zenith a show or 2 ago, and that was like probably the first time we had mentioned them, and now we're kind of mentioning them regularly. So yeah, we'll see what they have after these couple of games, and we'll see if they're for real.
Yeah, well, it's easier to talk about football teams when there's only like 9 of them in the area.
Yeah,
there's not like
as many.
60.
Yeah.
Next game I have on the listing, I have East Prairie at Twin Rivers. I'm thinking East Prairie's probably going to win this game, but, could be another good road win for them. Competitive records, at least.
Yeah, East Prairie is really kind of hitting the road. They've got a lot of games this week. They've got they're going to have Twin Rivers. They've got Perryville, games they should win, but they're games that they need. They're games that they just need to they just need to play and get ready for their county tournament, which is coming up. And they'll have Scott City in there, and Chaffee's not a terrible team. Chaffee's a team that's probably going to be I would think maybe the 3 seed in that tournament. So, they'll probably have them in the semifinal. So you just want to get and play games and just get out and Twin Rivers is not an easy place to play. So again, they'll make that long trip over to Twin Rivers, and they should take care of business. And it's only a story if they don't. That's kind of at this point.
At this point, I'm going to be more surprised if East Prairie loses games. It's still fun to talk about, obviously, when they win. But, an upset loss is what's going to get us talking about them again.
Right, yeah. And, I mean, if you're East Prairie, you're just trying to take care of business at this point.
Moving on, I've got Notre Dame at Jackson.
Yeah, that ought to be a good one. I mean, first one to 35 wins. Is that? Because Notre Dame's going to slow you down.
Yep.
I mean, they've went in that slow pace too. We're going to try to get the ball inside, and whenever you start covering up Dohan, he's going to kick it out. And I like Jackson in this game. I think Jackson matches up very well with Notre Dame and what they like to do. I don't think that they're going to have as much issue getting open. And so I think it's one of those where I think Jackson is, they're going to have to take care of cold deck. And I think he's going to come out a little angry after his only 9-point performance. I think he's going to come out and have a big night.
Most likely. How many threes do you think are going to be shot in this game?
Oh, for both teams together, 25 at least.
Yeah, I can see that.
At least.
And then finally, I've got Kennet at Poplar Bluff.
I mean, I would have, Poplar Bluff, again, they don't play anybody real around here unless they're playing SEMO conference teams. So you really don't know. I mean, they beat Dyersburg by 21. I mean, you would think that Dyersburg is a pretty decent team. I don't know what to really think of Poplar Bluff at this point. We'll see how they match up against Kennett. I would think that they would win. I mean, I think that they would be the favorite in that game. But again, them not playing around here and Kennett I think they just need a win at this point. I mean, they've had some tough schedules. They've taken it on the chin a couple of times. I think they just need a win. Yeah, I am kind of favoring Kennett in this game. I don't know. That's just a gut feeling.
Yeah, I've got no stats to back it up whatsoever.
You could be right. I mean, again, I don't know enough about Poplar Bluff. I mean, they keep playing West Plains and Springfield schools and Dyersburg, and they just don't play. They just don't play teams around here. And when they do, I mean, they played Jackson fairly close. I mean, it's kind of what we thought.
But so did Kennett.
So, and Jackson again is not a team that's going to put teams away. I mean, they played Dexter earlier in the year. It was a 15-point game or so. I mean, they just don't put teams away. It's not if they win by 15, it's like other teams winning by 30.
Yeah.
It's just not a team that's just going to score, beat you, 75 to 20 or something like that. That's just not the way they play. So yeah, I don't know. You could be right. That's fair.
I don't know. I just got something in the back of my mind that says, hey, black and gold. I don't know.
Kennett needs it. Kennett needs a win.
All right, let's talk about Stoddard County.
Let's do it.
So any game on the listing that you're just like stoked to see?
All of them.
Yeah.
I want to see all of them. I mean, of course, the game I want to see is Woodland Puxico. That's the game I want to see. Woodland.
Ideally. That'd be
Ideally. And Woodland, they've never won the tournament. Made the championship game in 2016, 2014, 93, and 77. That's it. Puxico, they've not won it since 84. They did make the championship game last year, a couple others, 2008, 2006, 99, 90, and 85. So they've made the championship game a few times, but they're not successful in it. So I want to see both of those teams. I would love to see both those teams in that championship. I think that would be a really good game, and I think Woodland wins it 10 points, personally. But I want to see it.
I think we on this show heavily favor Woodland at this point. At the same time, I don't know, Puxico with their narrative, won the BCT in first time in like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they've got this in front of them and they're hungry enough, they could absolutely come to play and win this tournament.
They absolutely could. And there's nothing wrong with Puxico. I don't think that just my eye test so far this year in the games I've seen, Woodland looks better than Puxico. That's just to me personally. Other people could think, oh, you're completely crazy. And obviously Puxico got the top seed in this tournament.
Mm-hmm. Got it for a reason.
And there's a reason they're the top seed. I think that don't sleep on Richland. I think this tournament, I'll make my predictions. This tournament is chalk until the championship game. I think I think what we see, what the seeds are is what we get. I think Richland beats Dexter. I think Bernie beats Bloomfield. I think Woodland beats Bernie. And I think Puxico gets past Richland. I think that's going to be a closer game than what people expect. I really do. I think that's going to be a down-to-the-wire game, and it wouldn't shock me to see Richland pull that off.
Is this the third time Puxico and Richland would play each other if that game does happen, or is this the second?
I think it would just be the second
time.
And then I think they've got a regular season game coming up. I think I could be wrong. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but I think I thought Richland played them pretty well in the Christmas tournament. They just weren't able to do anything with Burchard, and you've got to if you're Richland, you've got to control Burchard. I mean, Dexter has shut him down twice. I think you've got to kind of use their blueprint and use that, and you got to find somebody that can guard him man, or maybe run a box and one, and whoever that may be for Richland. But if you can control Burchard, I think Richland can win that game. It's going to be tough though. I mean, Puxico, again, not a bad team, and if you're trying to guard Woodland, good luck, because there's a lot of guys on their team that can score. So, I like chalk to the end, and I like Dexter win the consolation, but nobody really puts much stock into that. I think, but that Dexter Richland game could be a very good game to start it off with. But honestly, watching Dexter throughout the course of the year, they missed too many easy point blank shots. Just I've never seen a team miss so many shots just right at the rim. Mm-hmm. And and they don't close games. I just think Richland pulls that out.
I think, against my better judgment, I'm going to say this out loud. This is where Dexter upsets Richland. Because of course it is. And I say that because this is going to be the point where I don't think they're going to make a lot of noise. I think they probably lose to Puxico, like right after that, if they do beat Richland. But there's something about Dexter. I don't know what it is. Every time you start to doubt them, they come back and give a little bit of hope to your season. It's just like, well, where was this?
Yeah. I will say this. If Dexter beats Richland, Dexter beats Puxico.
Really?
Yeah. They've lost to them twice close. I think they figured out the third time. It is so hard to beat a team three times.
It is.
And especially when they've had the close games that they've had three times. I really think that, if push comes, because Dexter obviously shouldn't be afraid of Puxico. It shouldn't be one of those things where they're going in expecting to lose. Honestly, you should be ticked off that you haven't beaten them yet.
Yeah.
And, playing at home, you would think you'd have a great crowd behind you. You would think maybe a better atmosphere than what you had just a regular season game. We could talk all day about how the BEC is not a great home court advantage for Dexter in a regular season game, but in a tournament setting, when you got a lot of fans in there, you got a little more, it is your home court. So, but I don't think they get past Richland. I don't think it's going to matter.
Totally possible. Absolutely. I think for Dexter, I'm going to say this one out loud too. Don't know how this sounds. Most teams don't beat Dexter. I feel like Dexter beats Dexter.
And you're kind of accurate. Again, I've never seen a team miss so many easy point blank shots just right at the rim. I don't know. I've just been seeing it all year long. I've seen a lot of their games. I just don't get it. And then then we talk about how they settle for a lot of 3-point shots. Well, yeah, because they can't make the point blank shots. So, I don't know. I just, again, we've talked about Dexter probably way too much on this pod. I don't,
but they're so frustrating to me.
They just,
So that's why they live rent free in my head.
Yeah, they just, I can't figure them out. And, who knows? Yeah, they could roll through this tournament and win it, and they could go 2 and out. I don't know. So, we'll just see what they bring this week. And I don't know. Every day's a new day for the Dexter Bearcat basketball team for sure.
And you want to talk about it's hard to beat a team 3 times. What about Bloomfield and Bernie?
It's hard to beat a team 3 times. Tell you what, Bernie better be ready for a battle. I think that's going to be just an absolute battle, because I just don't think that Bloomfield can score enough to win that game. It all comes down to.
It will be the most defensive game.
Yeah, it's going to be a low-scoring game, 30s, low 40s, but I just don't think that Bloomfield can score enough. It is tough to beat a team 3 times, and it's, the last time it was a 6-point game.
Something like that,
I think it was like 44-38. So, I think that.
You got to depend on Bernie not being able to shoot a 3 again.
Yeah, why change it? You stick with what your game plan, and if they start hitting threes, then you got to adjust. But I tell you what, you're going to have to find offense. And somehow, some way, you've got to find some confidence in your offensive scheme to where you can get points. Because if you don't, I think it's just going to be kind of the same type game.
Got to shut down John Aycock too.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Do you sink it in and shut down Aycock, or do you shut down their threes? Last time they kind of sunk it in, try to take the inside game away, make them shoot the threes and beat you. I think you do the same thing. And if they start hitting threes, then you got to adjust. But I think Bernie wins it. But I think it could be just a dogfight.
I think if an upset happened, I think it would shock the world at this point. But hey, who knows?
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. To see them win that game, that would not be a shocking thing to me.
Well, at this point, I think everybody's speculating, expecting Puxico to play Woodland at the end. What if an upset does happen? Would it surprise you at this point?
No, not really. No, because I think if Dexter beats Richland, I think they can beat Puxico. What would shock me if Woodland is not in that championship game? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what would surprise me.
I feel like they have the easiest road right now.
I think they match up very well with Bernie. I think that
they've beaten them before
and beat them before, and Bernie played them close for a half, and then kind of Woodland just pulled away.
So did Richland.
Yeah, Woodland's beaten Stoddard County teams by an average of like 25 a game.
Yeah,
I mean it's not even. I'm like they're just turning it on, these teams, and so we'll. It would surprise me if they're not in the championship game. That would be an upset that would be kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm the negative side of things to me is like if they do get upset, like is that egg on our face that we've been preaching them up just like all season at this point?
I'll eat it if they do. I mean, just the team that I've seen, has looked really good all year long. And if I'm wrong, then I'll eat it. I just think they're a really good basketball team, and I think a lot of people don't see them and don't realize how good a basketball team they are. And I think maybe a few more people will see that this week, and if they win it, then good. Hey, we've been on them all since the beginning, basically. If not, then I'll eat it. And again, it's not going to surprise me if Puxico beats them. That was a 3-point game last year between the two teams. So I mean, it certainly wouldn't surprise me. I just think that from my eye test this year, I think Woodland's about 8 to 10 points better.
Yeah, and I mean their resume is great now too.
So far, I mean. And again, but you've got to play well, and they've not played well in this tournament. They've never won it. I mean,
which seems really surprising.
In close to 50 years, they've never won this tournament, and only played in 4 championship games. So I mean, the pedigree is not there. This is not a tournament that they do well in. So I mean, no, it would not shock me if they. I mean, if they lose, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not going to be the biggest shock in the world for sure. But I just think that this team is too good not to at least make the championship game.
They got a team of destiny on their side, especially for this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, and they've got really good players. They've got a good coach. I think their assistant coach got nominated for some award recently. I mean, they are going about as good as a Woodland team I've seen in a long time. So we'll see if they can finally break through and win this tournament.
All right. I think that about covers it for this week. Dave, any final thoughts?
No. Sykes is playing in the Union tournament this week, all the way, another tournament far away. They could get Borgia in that championship game. So I'm sure we'll talk more about that in our next pod. But that's, again, Sykes is playing up there, and I don't know how good of a tournament that really is. So So we'll see. It could be a good championship game, but up till then, it's like, we'll see.
Hey, Sykeston needs those. Well, they're not really getting much competition down here, so they need those.
Yeah, maybe get some better competition up there. So, but yeah, that's all I got, and just hopefully these schools get healthy, and we get some healthy games with all these teams.
Yeah, shorter episode today, but we didn't have as many games to talk about.
Yeah, I started to say, get healthy, people.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the SEMO Sports Zone. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you Thursday.